Hello guys, and welcome to another video. Today's video is going to be a wrap up for March and the TBR for April. I'm so excited. We've got a lot to cover, so I'm not gonna yammer too much. Let's jump into it. For this video, let's start with my March wrap up. Pull up my screenshot for you here so you can see all of the stats, and we'll just kind of go through them. Starting in March, my average monthly rating for March was a 3.7. I'm not loving this consistency of being around a 3.5. I wish it was higher, but what can you do? As far as books that I have read, I ended up reading 8 books this month. So exciting. And I read a total of 2,935 pages, which is awesome. And then as far as reading formats are concerned, I read 8 books physically. 7 of those I had audiobooks for, and none of them were audiobooks from my library, sadly. As far as my star ratings are concerned, we had 1 2.5 star, we had 2 3 stars, 1 3.5, 1 4, and 3 4.5s, which is amazing, but sadly no 5 stars. Womp womp. My top 3 genres for the month so far, or for the year so far, is pretty consistently fantasy, horror, and lit fic, which is kind of funny. I had 1 book that I DNF'd this month, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. And then I had 2 books that I have not finished for this month. So let's talk about the books that I read this month and my ratings and all that jazz. So the first book that we read, and technically that we finished, we didn't start, but we finished reading The Will of the Many. This was a 4 star. I really enjoyed this. I will say there were aspects to it that I was very frustrated and annoyed by, specifically the way that they decided to end this book, and specifically around the character and how he was basically immune to all issues. If you want to know more about my thoughts on that, you can watch my video. This was when I read Dungeon Crawler Carl and Will of the Many for like a FOMO vlog. The average rating for this book on Fable was a 4.5, so I'm not too far from the average, but yeah, definitely was a 4 star. I honestly could see dropping it a little bit even more than that, to be fair, but that's what I gave it, so that's what we'll keep it. The next 3 books that we read were all from my reading sequels vlog, which you can find here. And we read 3 books in that video. The first book we read was Scythe and Sparrow. This is the 3rd book in the Butcher and Blackbird series, or the Ruinous Love trilogy is what it's really called, but I don't call it that. But this was the 3rd book. I ended up giving this 3 stars. The average rating for this is 4 stars, so I was quite far off from most people, but I think it's just because I was done with the series. This book had a lot of repetitive stories from books 1 and 2 mixed into it, and that just kind of made for a lackluster experience in my opinion. So for that reason, I gave it a 3 star, but you can watch my video for more information. And then we had The Merciless 2. I ended up giving this 2.5 stars. This was my 1 2.5. I am way below the average. The average rating for this book is actually 3.75, which is quite shocking to me. I thought this was terrible. I was so frustrated with this book. I just was not enjoying my experience with this one. We're following the same main character from the first book. However, there's just some things that happen that I'm like, huh? It wasn't as exciting either. The action didn't really happen like it did in the first one in the second book. And the amount of horror wasn't really as significant to me. So it just was, not my favorite. It also had a super huge religious tone to it that I also was just not enjoying. And then the final book from that video was reading Carl's Doomsday Scenario. This is the 2nd book in the Dungeon Crawler Carl series. For this book, I gave it 3.5 stars. The average is 4.5. And I gave this 3.5 stars because I felt like it wasn't as funny or as entertaining as the first book. The first book was just so much fun. I remember just laughing and enjoying myself so much. As a sneak preview, I have started book 3. I won't be reading it in March as a official vlog, but I did start that one with my husband, and I am enjoying it more so this time than I enjoyed this one. It's already started off on a better foot for me for book 3, so we'll see how it continues to go, but that was my rating for doomsday scenario. The next two books that we read were a part of my new releases for 2026 video. And for that video, we read Half His Age and How to Kill a Guy in 10 Dates. For Half His Age, I ended up giving this 4.5 stars. Basically, we're following a 17-year-old who is in love with her 40-year-old teacher, and they start a quote-unquote relationship. I have a lot of thoughts and opinions and feelings about this book, so if you want to see like my live reactions and my live thoughts to reading this, I highly recommend watching the video where I talk about all of the things that happen in this book. So you can watch that here. That's my 2026 anticipated release video. And the average rating for this was 3.5 stars. So I was a full star ahead of everybody else in my rating. I thought this was pretty good, to be honest. It wasn't a 5-star, but I did think this was written very well. I enjoyed the situation and the premise and all of the like dichotomies of what was happening. I think a lot of people potentially gave this a bad rating because of it exploring what it explored, but I think it's also real. Like it was not ever, in my opinion, an intention to blame the 17-year-old for being in love with a 40-year-old, because at the end of the day, there is a power dynamic there that 40-year-old should have recognized and not gone through. Like this just, it shouldn't have happened, period. But it did, and it's real. That does happen, unfortunately. As much as we don't want to believe in, as much as we don't like that, that's how it was. So I don't know exactly what everybody's opinion is on this book and why they're giving it lower ratings, but I did think it was rather good. And then we had How to Kill a Guy in 10 Dates. If you watched my vlog, you know how I felt about this book. I ended up giving this a 3-star. The average rating for this is a 4, and I watched Kayla, she did a book club, her Literally Dead book club was this book last month, and I watched the recap of that video, and everybody was giving it like such high ratings. And I was like, man, why am I like such a hater? Because that's how I feel. I feel like I'm a hater for not liking this, but I didn't enjoy it. Like, I loved the romance of it. I thought the romance was great. The horror wasn't there for me, and it just wasn't satisfying for me. And I guessed all the things, and that was really frustrating. Like, if I'm guessing things at the beginning of the book, that's no good. I don't like that. So that's where my low rating came from, but I can understand why some people might have liked it and enjoyed it more than I did. And then the final two books that we read this month were for my Twisted Retreat episode 2 vlog. And if you haven't watched it, you can watch it. It was my best one yet. We read Blood Slaves and Hush My Darling. Both of these were 4.5 stars. Both of them. Blood Slaves average was 4, and Hush My Darling is also an average of 4. So not too far off from the average from Fable. I absolutely loved these books. I think they were both so good. If you haven't watched the vlog, basically Blood Slaves is following a slave named Willie who encounters a vampire who can change the course of how these slaves are living and how their lives are going, and will they take that chance and what happens when they do. Such a good book. And then Hush My Darling, this was following 2 women, Lauren and Megan, and their encounter with some unsavory individuals and how they navigated those terrible moments. The twists and turns is what really got me to a 4.5 on this book, because honestly, in the beginning, it's kind of like, okay, like this is happening, like, all right, here's where we are. Like, the beginning really irritated me and pissed me off, to be fair, because it was unrealistic to me. I don't believe that any person would see all 75 red flags and just keep ignoring them until it was too late. But to be fair, after that happens, everything that transpires after that is insane and twisty and turny and crazy and awesome. And I just really, really love this book. So those are all 8 books that I read in the month of March. Very exciting. I did DNF one book, which is for an upcoming video because I'm starting a video early. So I'm not going to tell you which one it is, so you have to watch my videos to find out. And then I have 2 books that I did not finish this month. One of those books was Will of the Many, which I did end up finishing. Or no, sorry. I have 1 unfinished book that I'm currently working on reading right now, and 1 book that I did DNF. Now let's talk about the plans for next month. My plans for April, we have a video going up which is this one today on the 1st of April. And then I have a video every Sunday and then a video every other Wednesday. So the video going up this coming Sunday on the 5th is going to be my used bookstore vlog. I am wrapping up editing that now, so that one will be live next Sunday. And then next Wednesday will be my second episode of my Finish It or Unhaul It series. And we have 5 books that I'm planning to read potentially for that video. So going through all of them, we have Cuckoo, which I had started a while back, probably like over a year ago. And I got like maybe 30% of the way in, maybe not even that far. And I just stopped reading it because I was bored. So we're gonna try and finish Cuckoo. Then we have The Pallbearers Club, which I was also about 10% of the way into, and I got bored of it, and so I stopped reading it. So we're gonna try and finish that one. And then I have some few other options if I get to them. Sociopath is a nonfiction that I really wanna read about a therapist who is a sociopath, and like her life and her life story around that. It's basically her memoir, so I'm very excited to finish reading this. I'm maybe like 5% of the way in, so I didn't get very far, but this one is very interesting to me. Then we have Exquisite Corpses, which I'm about 10 to 15% of the way into. I started this a while back because I wanted something gory and horror and all of the things, and then I got bored and I never finished it. Are we seeing a trend? And then we have Nosferatu by Joe Hill. I started this in December of last year and then quit reading it. But I got to page 30, like I read quite a significant amount and I was enjoying it. I just was like focusing on other books at that point to like start my new YouTube journey this year. So I want to finish this one in this video if possible. The next video will be the following Sunday, which is the 12th of April, and I'm going to do a taste test video where I taste test Rachel Harrison books. I've never read a Rachel Harrison, and I recently got Play Nice in my used bookstore vlog. You'll see this one. And then I've had Black Sheep. I've just never read either one of these, so I thought, since I've never read a Rachel Harrison before, we could do a taste test video and see if I like her writing and if I like either one of these books and if I would continue reading more of her books. So very excited for both of these. The next video will be on April 19th, which is going to be a thriller reading vlog. I've been teasing this one for a while and just haven't done it. So I have 3 books that I want to read. I want to read A Flicker in the Dark. My best friend read this and she loved it, and I want to also love it. So I plan to read this and hopefully really enjoy it. This is a Book of the Year finalist for 2022 for Books of the Month. So I know it's really good. I've heard amazing things about it, so I really want to read this one. And then we have You Shouldn't Have Come Here by Jennifer Rose. I've read a Jennifer Rose before. I believe I've read at least 2 of her books before, but I decided to pick this one up. It's a interesting like cabin in the woods kind of story, so definitely interested to see what this one is. And then I have a Holly Jackson 5 Survive. I had actually started this once upon a time, so you know, this could go in my unhaul it, but it's fine. I started it and never finished it, but I had read Holly Jackson's series A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. I stopped after book 2 because it was trash and I hated that series after that, but I'm excited to read 5 Survive. It sounds very intriguing, following a group of friends in so many hours of their life and what's going to happen and transpire. Very interesting and intriguing concept. And then if I have time and it actually will work out, I may do another taste test video on the 22nd, and that taste test video will be reading Mason Cole. I have started William and have not finished it, and I figured since I recently got Exiles, I could try both of these together since I've never read from this author before either, and these are both 2 books that he has. These are only 2 books that I know of that he's written. So I could read both of these. They're both very short. They're both like 200 and something pages, so I feel like I could get through both of these pretty significantly. So yeah, if I have time, we might do these. But for sure, the final video going out on the 26th will be my 3rd episode in the Twisted Retreat series. I picked these 2. Bogwife was the next book in the timeline, and then Wrecked because it just has sounded so good to me. I just randomly picked this one. There's a few that sound really good to me, but this one, I don't know, it sounds really good and I really want to read it. So we have these 2 for the Twisted Retreat video at the end of the month. And if you kept up, that's a lot of books, right? That's, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. That's 14 books. There's no way. We're not actually going to read all of those. The first video is going to be the one where we determine how many we actually read, because I have a cutoff where I can't read anymore. So we'll see how many we actually get to in that first video, but I'm hoping that we can get to the rest of them and potentially even the Mason Cole books, because it just sounds fun, but we'll see what happens. Either way, thank you guys so much for joining me today. I hope that you're excited for the videos to come. Let me know if you've read any of the books that I'm planning to read for the month of April, or if you read any of the books that I had read in March. Tell me your thoughts and opinions. I would love to hear them. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I would love to have you here in my little book community. I hope you have a great rest of your day and a great week, and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.